up, everybody? This is your girl, Angel Ghost Girl. You're watching. This is Angel. I'm Angel. And you're watching Angel Ghost Girl right now. It's been a minute. I'm sorry. I haven't been filming. But I'm back to it. I promise you I'm back to it. So, this is a read aloud video. So, if you're new to my channel, we do all sorts of things here. We have ghost stories. We have paranormal read alouds where I read to you haunted, not haunted, objects. I don't have any haunted objects, But I read to you. If I'm not looking directly at the camera, it's because this is a new phone and I'm trying to figure out where everything is. But yeah, so I'll get used to it. But right now, I'm reading a paranormal magazine, and this one is called The World's Most Haunted Places. Creepy, ghostly, and notorious spots. That's what the cover looks like. And this is what the behind of it looks like, the back. Pretty cool looking. There's the first page. See, there's some pictures in there too. Pretty cool, spooky ones. So I'm gonna read. There's this little corner right here. I'm going to read to you first, and then we'll get to the next page. Founded in 1478, the Erie Cemetery in Joseph the Jewish Ghetto, Prague Republic is the oldest surviving Jewish cemetery in Europe. So I guess this is one of the oldest cemeteries still surviving in Europe. Yep. And then they got this next page. Spooky looking. In this little corner up here is Sandfields, an abandoned house in Scope. Namibia? Probably didn't say that right. The ghost town where a booming German diamond mining community once thrived from 1908 to the 1920s. The old butcher shop is rumored to be particularly haunted. So that's this. So now there's this picture. I guess we're going through a lot of pictures first. And there's this little thing right here I'm going to read to you. These pages, a mummy in the Mummy Museum in Mexico, which opened its doors in 1969. The site inspired a number of Mexican wrestling horror movies, bringing an international audience to the site. Photographed So this is photographed by Henry Romero Corvus. Cover before Bela Lugosi. There was the original Dracula, Vlad the Impaler. Vlad didn't live in Bran Castle, but an illustration of this building in Bran, Romania, inspired Bram Stoker when he created his tale of the bloodthirsty Count. Photographed by Stephen Almy. Back cover figures in the fog street beside the Tower of London. In 1947, only 6 years after the last execution occurred in the structure, the last victim was the German Joseph Jacobs, who was shot by a firing squad. So, this has something to do with this picture, I guess. It's a little weird, but okay. And I think we're about to see some more stuff about the Island of the Dolls. Creepy, I know, right? Typical. Them and their dolls, man. It's creepy. So this is the next page. This is where we're going to get into the good stuff. See, just creepy. What is wrong with these people? We'll do it. If you haven't noticed. Dolls, creepy dolls, haunted dolls, creep me out. Porcelain dolls, creepy things. Dolls hang from trees on Isla because I always butcher these names. Island of the Dolls, south of Mexico City, is filled with toys collected by the island's reclusive caretaker. There is no end to the oldest houses with. So we're going to get started. We're going to get into it now. We're going to get into it. There is no end to the old houses with resounding galleries in dismal state, bedchambers and haunted wings, shut up for many years, through which we may ramble and encounter any number of ghosts. Charles Dickens once wrote, "The great English rite might as well have added polished caves, Babylonian ruins, and Mexican mummy museums to his list of ghost places, as we here at Life have done, bringing you a book filled with blood-curdling photos and eerie stories about the world's creepiest spots. Think the hotel that inspired The Shining, the Amityville Horror House, and the diabolical farm that was home sweet home to the serial killer who's inspired the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Silence of the Lambs, and Psycho. No, not all of these photos are strictly haunted. Some, like Australia's Ulray's Rock, or the ancient ruins submerged under South America's Lake Titicaca, are deeply mysterious, maybe even spiritual. Others, like Kalmanscope, Africa's sand-covered ghost town, are downright unnerving. But they all have one thing in common. They seem to exist partly in the known world, and partly in a shadow realm we can't completely comprehend. So get ready, if you dare, to encounter any number of ghosts, ghouls, yetis, haunted dolls, and other things that go bump in the night." I guess that's just an intro point. And now we're on this page. Gonna leave you to this little thing here. Night falls on the house of the Seven Gables in Salem, Massachusetts. The rusty wooden house that once belonged to the family of the cousin of writer Nathaniel Hawthorne, who wrote about it in his novel of the same name. So that's what this page was for. The Paranormal Prison, Alcatraz. Now, I did a ghost story a while back about Alcatraz. If you'd like to go back and take and watch that video, it'd be called on my channel Alcatraz. Pretty good ghost story. You should take a look at it. On May 2nd, 1946, in what became known as the Battle of Alcatraz, 6 prisoners, overpowered guards, stole their weapons and tried to escape from the prison on this isolated island in the San Francisco Bay, but when they realized they were missing the key, they needed to flee into the recreation yard. They grew desperate, took captives, and started shooting over the next 48 hours. 2 prison officers were killed and were unalived. I can't say unalived. And 18 injured. 3 would-be escapees were shot to death and were unalived in the utility quarter between cell blocks, the very spot that 36-year-old San Francisco radio anchor Ted Wyatt was exploring with a, if I butchered that last name, just let me know, was exploring with a psychic when he was overcome by a feeling of violence and evil. I got this tremendous feeling of anger, he told the Travel Channel. I felt this presence beneath us in the dirt where these 3 men had died. This is only one of many supernatural stories involving the so-called Rock, which has been a Civil War fortress, a bird sanctuary, and the birthplace of American Indian Red Power movement, in addition to the brutal home for thousands of hardened convicts rejected as unmanageable by other prisons. These men were called the Incriminables, according to former inmate Duane Whitney Thompson. You step on a toe, it's gonna wind up in a unalive. Many of these long departed inmates are now said to be unruly spirits. A spectacle Al Capone has been heard practicing his banjo in the shower room. He was a member of the prison band in the Rock Islanders. Mobster Alvin Creepy Carpus calls the bakery and kitchen home, while George Machine Gun Kelly has reported materialized in the chapel, but the most haunted spot in the prison, according to many paranormal investigators, is D Block, the site of the infamous 1946 escape attempt of the island's best spooky stories. And if this is the island's best spooky stories, though the tale seems cryptic, it's too good not to mention. A prisoner locked in cell 14D of the whole cells supposedly screamed that someone else was in the dark, cramped space with him. When guards finally opened the door, they found him unalive, string and marks on him from a spectacle attacker on his neck. This little setback did not, however, prevent the late prisoner's ghost from showing up for a roll call that night. Unlike so many haunted places, Alcatraz doesn't commercially capitalize on its reputation. In fact, the National Park Service calls the spooky stories flights of fancy, as does the island's official tour website. There are no authenticated cases of ghost sightings by any of Alcatraz's residents over the years, whether they were soldiers, prisoners, correctional officers, family members, or park rangers. The site reads, but how would you authenticate a ghost sighting anyway? And former prisoner Thompson, for his part, believes the hype. This island is haunted, he said. It is the island of the damned. And there's a little corner down here I'm going to read. Alcatraz Island in San Francisco Bay, opposite the view along the notorious D Block. In 2014, a British tourist saw the dark specter of a woman in a picture she took of the former visitation room. A trick of the light, a hoax, possibly. So this is the next page we're gonna read. It's about Ed Gein. Creepy dude. Creepy dude. The Psycho House, Ed Gein's farm. Somewhere in the Plainfield, Wisconsin cemetery lies an unmarked grave belonging to the man who, thanks to his Hollywood influence, may be America's most infamous serial unaliver. In the same burial ground lies what remains of the women he dug up in the 1950s and turned into a perverse variety of the handicrafts. Not surprisingly, the place is said to be haunted by the restless soul of one of the fiend's victims. Sounds weird. Unnamed in death as in life, prowling the lonely graves and In November 1957, Plainfield was shaken to its core after 58-year-old Bernice Warden, owner of the local hardware store, disappeared. Her son told the local sheriff that he found blood in the store, and that a 51-year-old local handyman named Ed Gein had recently come in looking for antifreeze. Tracing Gein down to the ramshackle, isolated farmhouse where the odd man had lived alone since the death of his mother. The sheriff found Warden there and found her in the shed. Some things I'm just not going to say on here, that's for sure. But that was only the beginning of the horror. In the garbage stone house, law enforcement officers found chairs operated with people skin, a soup bowl made from a human skull, a shade pole made of human mask made from human faces, a belt made of, that's to say people, a vest made from a torso, embalming supplies and anatomy books and detective magazines. The Gein read by Corsican lamps. There were also skulls, one belonging to Mary Hogan, who had run a Plainfield tavern and had mysteriously disappeared in 1954. In the end, the remains of 11 women were discovered in the house. On November 20th, 1957, a deputy sheriff stands outside of the Plainfield, Wisconsin farmhouse belonging to the masked unaliver Ed Gein. Following the discovery of bodies and body parts inside, Ed Gein had two faces, wrote the 7-point journal. On he showed to the neighbors. The other he showed to the unalived. That's what's on here. So, yeah, there's some stuff you just don't want to say on here. So, yeah, so we're gonna get back to it in the next video. But if you like this video, just like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video, dropping next week hopefully. So without further ado, sweet dreams. May I say sweet dreams, or should I say sweet nightmares? Toodaloo.